Hey guys, welcome back. I'm here at Horizon Hobby with Shane Wilson from Athearn, and we're here to talk to you about the new Athearn JVO. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Shane to talk about some of the details of this previous Tower 55 model and what they've done to enhance it.
Well, James, thanks so much for taking the time to come to Horizon today. We appreciate your family's time and being here. And as you just mentioned, we just shipped the BNSF ES44AC along with the UP. And want to kind of walk through some of the features of those two models and talk about how we took the original T55 tooling and took it to a whole new level. So with that, first of all, with the BNSF, a lot of subtle things that we did to really take the model and give it some new detail. Probably one of the really big things we did is we opened up the dynamic brake intakes, and you can now see all the way through the model. And in fact, inside are the dynamic brake fans. Another thing that we did too, right above the dynamic brake intakes is a panel. And if you'll notice, that panel now has a 3D relief to it. It's actually undercut. And that on the original model was flat across the top, so it gives it a little bit more detail. Some of the other things that we did, we only acquired the shell from T55, so we had to go back and do a whole new mechanism. So it's got now a Genesis drivetrain in it, which also meant that we had to create new trucks. We've got both the high-ad truck and the steerable truck, which is on the CP. And then also, because of that, we developed a new fuel tank. The original fuel tank had the air tanks molded into it. The new fuel tanks are actually separately applied, so you get a little bit more 3D relief. Some of the other things that we did to enhance the model, new ditch lights. They're a little bit smaller than what they were previously. If you look at the things like the grab irons, they're going to be a little bit more fine scale than previous. Same with the handrails. We also did some things like, you'll notice the 4-window cab on the BNSF, the 3-window cab on the UP. And then going around the model, all of the detail parts are new. So when you look down through all the radiator screens, the fans, and then one last thing that's worth noting too that we did is on the grills in the back of the locomotive, we went in and we painted them black to give them a little bit more three-dimensional relief. You may notice too, James, that the CP is not here on the table. It's actually behind schedule just a little bit. Folks may have noticed on the pre-production sample that it didn't have the anti-glare on the nose. And of course the production models will have that, and they will be here in about a month, towards the end of July.
Well, thanks Shane for the update on the GEVOs. Hopefully these GEVOs will stand up to my review process. And now we're going to roll directly into the review on the GEVOs on my cousin's layout in his basement to take a look at the details and how these things run. Alright, we're at my cousin's layout in his basement, and I'm going to do the unboxing of this brand new Union Pacific ES44AC. Road number is 5289. It is equipped with DC, DCC, and Tsunami sound. This is the first time I'm opening this locomotive out of the box, so you guys can see what you get. Athearn has a nice pamphlet for the GE Evolution series locomotive. They go over some details about the locomotive, handling and maintenance of the locomotive. DCC and sound shows up to the first 12 functions of that Tsunami decoder. More information on DCC and sound and some CV programs. The cab and all the detailed parts. Exploded parts diagram. And more of the nomenclature parts and the trucks detail, and about your 1-year warranty through Horizon Hobby or Athearn. Athearn news flyer you get, and your warranty card. And here is the locomotive in the box. So let's get this opened up. Here we have the locomotive, and we're going to unbox it right here in front of you so you see what you get. Caught on the foam a little bit. Athearn has stepped up their packaging in recent last year or so. Help preserve the locomotives. During shipment, you got a little bit of foam holding in your handrails on each side. And that is it for packaging. Here you have the locomotive. So far out of the box, this is the first time I'm pulling this out of the box. I see no broken parts, no issues with the locomotive yet. So let's go ahead and sit it down on the track take a closer look at some of the details, and I'll try not to be too repetitive on what Shane's already covered earlier in this video. Alright guys, we're going to start from the front of the locomotive and look at some locomotive details right now on this GEVO. First of all, you've got ditch lights. These are operating ditch lights that function. You got an operating headlight here. You've got the cab door. You've got the cab ladders. A nice detail applied to those. Working our way down, you've got the MU short cable here. You've got the MU hoses. The knuckle coupler, which is McHenry. Now, a lot of people ask me about these McHenry couplers. Athearn owns McHenry, so that's why they use McHenry. Like I've said in previous videos, if you're a car company like Lexus and you own Firestone, why would you use Goodyear tires on your car when you own Firestone? So obviously Athearn's going to use McHenry couplers. They're not bad couplers. I haven't had any problems with them. I haven't had any coupler snap or break pulling pretty long contests. Anyway, moving on. You've got the stairs here. Nice detail on those. The handrails and the chain in between. These are sturdy but thin. They've done a real nice job on the sturdiness of these, the durability of these, and yet they're thin and prototypically accurate. Moving up to the cab, we have tinted windows on the cab here. These are not the flat black tinted windows like you found on the T55 model. They've got kind of a haze to them. It's hard to capture on film, but they are tinted windows and they look pretty good. Cab lettering is clear. The C45AC CTE, which is the UP designation of this GEVO, is clear and legible. And then you've got, working down to the trucks, nice detail on the trucks here. You can see the springs and the truck workings. Very nice job there. Right now, looking at the top of the locomotive, we've got the GPS dome and the antenna dome, which are both very nicely done on this locomotive. You've got the dynamic brake hatches, which I believe Shane talked about, are separately applied, and they've got that three-dimensional look where they sit on top of the actual locomotive and they're not part of the mold of the locomotive itself. It's like a separate part, or appears to be a separate part. And then behind that you've got the clean air compartment hatch located here. Again, nice job with these details all on the roof. Now, where a lot of manufacturers have issues is on the flag, on the Union Pacific flag. I've seen a lot of manufacturers make it too light, too dark, overexposed, digitalized to the point to where it's causing pixelation. But they did a nice job on the Union Pacific flag here. Real nice details on that. They've got grab irons on the hood side here, basically so that the crew could access the top. The horn is done nicely, and the exhaust stack is done nicely. Pretty good job. There's even an exhaust stack divider up top that looks done well. Down on the fuel tank, they've got the little window that the crews would look on the prototype to see what level the fuel's at. So a good job on the midsection of this locomotive by Athearn. Working our way back to the radiator, they have a nice detail on the radiator. The radiator grills are done well. As Shane talked about, they've really stepped up their game on some of the detail on this GEVO compared to the T55 units. One thing that really sticks out to me is all the compartments, the doors they can open up to access the working mechanisms, locomotive parts, things like that. All these doors are done so nicely. You can see the depth and the detail on all these doors. The handrails along the side are durable again. They are plastic handrails, very durable and thin to the prototype, so a nice job there again by Athearn. Moving forward, we're going to take a look at the back of this locomotive. Alright, on the rear of the locomotive you've got the rear light here. Again, just nice done by Athearn. People have complained in the past about the bulb sticking out. There's no problem with that here. You've got the sand filler in the back, the sand filler on the rear end here, very nicely done by Athearn. Again, the chain looks very realistic on the back, and the handrails are a nice thickness, and then you've got the MU hoses dropping down from the back. So nice job overall by Athearn, and I'll just show you a quick view of the other side of this locomotive so you can see for yourself the detail on that, and I won't go into much more specifics because we need to save time for actually running the locomotive. So applying track power will power the locomotive start sequence up. There's no need to do anything else other than simply apply track power. As with all locomotives, they're programmed to a standard DCC address of 3. So I've gone to that address. Now we're going to go ahead and turn on the headlights and the ditch lights so you can see the detail there, and I'm going to kill the lights so you can see it better. There's the headlight and the ditch lights. There's the horn. That's the long horn, and here's the short horn. And the bell. There's a grade crossing sequence for you rail buffs. That's all the sound I'm going to cover. I will say this about the locomotive, just so people know. They do not have lit number boards, so that's not present on this locomotive. And they also use incandescent bulbs. I'm going to quiet this locomotive down so you can hear me better. But there's no lit number boards, and they are incandescent bulbs. A lot of people wonder why Athearn continues to use incandescent bulbs. I'm not sure on that answer, but I will say that I personally, as a modeler, have not found an LED that 100% can capture the realism on the prototype of the incandescent bulb. So the prototype locomotives actually use incandescent bulbs, so it's best captured with an incandescent bulb. Now people talk about the incandescent bulb having a short life compared to an LED. Surprisingly, I've had more LEDs burn out than incandescent bulbs in my locomotive fleet. So who knows, maybe one day I'll get to a point to where I can actually test a locomotive and run it, leave the lights on for hours and time how long these incandescent bulbs last. Alright, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to operation. Alright, I'm going to turn F8 back off, which basically turns the locomotive sounds back on, and then I'm going to run through the operation of the locomotive. My cousin doesn't have a large layout, so we're only going to run through some of the speed steps, but this is straight out of the box with no CVs tweaked, so you'll see how this thing operates, and I'll call out the speed steps as I move this up. And I have changed the speed steps to 128, so we get the max range here. We're not going to go up to 128, but you'll see the subtlety of the speed steps. Alright, here we go. 1 speed step. 2 speed steps. 3 speed steps. 4 speed steps. 5 speed steps. 6 speed steps. 7 speed steps. 8 speed steps. 9 speed steps. 10 speed steps. 11 speed steps, 12 speed steps. Now I'm going to bring it down from 6 speed steps down to a stop. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Zero. So this has a very smooth operating drive from 1 speed step up to about 12. It really slowly gains speed and slowly decreases speed back down to a stop. Great representation of the prototype in that. It's not jerky at all. So a great job by Athearn on the drive. Of course, this is an Athearn Genesis, so they have a really nice drive in this locomotive. Alright, for an MSRP of $299.98 for the sound units and $199.98 for the non-sound units, I think this is a great deal, especially like I've mentioned before, you bargain hunters out there that go find the discounts at the online retailers, brick and mortar hobby shops. You can get these locomotives in the range of $220 to $250 for the sound, $120 to $150 for the non-sound, very easily if you decide to do that. Now, with that said, there's a few other things I want to cover. First of all, the weight of the locomotive. The weight I can only compare to the Intermountain ES44AC because that's the only plastic ES44 out on the market right now. Now, compared to the ES44AC, the Athearn's ES44 is heavier. It's slightly heavier. It's not like a brick compared to a feather or anything, but it is heavier than the Intermountain unit. Now, weight usually directly contributes to pulling power. I've got 2 of these locomotives for myself, and I think with 2 locomotives I could easily pull a 90 plus car consist, no problems, especially on my flat layout at home. Now, I also want to talk about some of the details Athearn goes into. These guys really research their products. Now, during my visit to Athearn, I got to see some of the detail at Horizon Hobby on how they go into the process, and they really listen to the customer. Not a lot of manufacturers actually listen to the customer, and it was evident throughout my entire tour there that they really listen to the customer. They take customer feedback and they put it into their products, and they improve their products over time. You saw the evolution of the SD70ACE. They started with one end of the spectrum, and then they improved that product over time, and now those SD70ACEs are untouchable in the plastic market. So Athearn really listens to the customer. It was evident when I was there. So I suggest if you guys have any product suggestions or improvements on products, send to Athearn your comments. They are always looking to improve their products, and they're always listening to the customer. It's very, very evident. So with that said, another thing I want to mention is the detail on the locomotive with the magnification. I took my cousin's magnification glass here, magnifying glass, and we looked under the looked at some of the small warning labels and things like that, and everything was clearly marked and legible under magnification, which is another level of detail that they go to on this product. So overall, great product. We talked about the drive being great, sound being great from Tsunami. They balance the sound really well. The bass from the horn and the bell is just greatly done. So it's some of the best sound I've heard out of the Tsunami decoders. Tweaked very well. Great job. No broken parts. Everything's perfect. Just a great job. And I love the fact that they did the tinted windows. So I have absolutely no beefs with this locomotive. Great job overall from Athearn. Another note I want to tell you is that although I did visit Athearn and I did get to talk with the folks there, this review is not affected by that. I will always give you guys the flat out truth about the review. A lot of the times you're looking at the product when I'm looking at the product, so you see what I see. There's no way to cover up a ditch light that's out, or a broken handrail, or a horn or bell that sounds horrible. You know, any of those problems I'm not going to be able to cover up because I'm viewing the product with you and I'm doing the review as I'm viewing it for the first time. Sometimes I do my homework on the specs and things beforehand, but a lot of time you're viewing this product at the same time I am. Also, the camera is zoomed in and it's on 1080p HD, so you see all the details. Plus I've got Dolby digital sound, so you're hearing all the details if you're using your computers correctly, or if your speakers aren't busted out and things like that. So you're being able to see and hear all the things I'm seeing, so you can make your own judgments on the product's quality. But overall, great product. No beefs with this product, like I said. And again, guys, we'll have more reviews coming up this fall. Lots of things coming up from Athearn, lots of other manufacturers of products as well. All this summer, fall, and winter, lots of Norfolk Southern folks will be happy with the Heritage units starting to roll out from Athearn, and we'll have a preview of that later as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on my channel. Take care.